Hello, everyone, and welcome to one of the Vendora webinars. My name is Darren Steeves, and I'm co-owner of Vendora. Really appreciate you being here with us. We've got 20 minutes. I'm going to try to get through lots of really good information, which I think is good information, and my experience is over 21 years in the industry. To be clear, I'm not a rehabilitation person, so I'm not a physio or chiro. What I am actually is a exercise physiologist, and I've worked with athletes and general population. I've done workshops for different organizations and different groups. So I've done talks on low back. I've done talks on just about everything that you can imagine. And what I wanted to do is just impart a little bit of my knowledge and what I've learned and throw some ideas at you. Feel free to ask questions as we go along. So there is a place that you can log in and ask some questions through live fire. You can see there where you can post as a guest. If anything goes wrong, just I think probably one of the simplest things that we've learned over the last 4 or 5 is just hit refresh and hopefully it comes back up. Worst case scenario is you will get a replay later on, so you'll be able to replay in case you've missed anything. If you have a pen and paper, might be a good idea too, but I'm going to email you my 10 recommendations because that's what I'm hoping to get out today, is the 10 things that I figured out over the last 20 years, again, working with people. And I always tell my story too. I'm never afraid to hide anything. I've had low back pain. I've had chronic low back pain. And these are some of the things that have pushed me towards maintaining good back health. Sometimes I fall back a little bit, but what I know is I have the strategies that can push me back really quick to having a healthy back. So again, feel free to ask questions as we go, or you can email me questions. I think all of you have my email. It's darren@vandorawellness.com, and I'll respond back to you ASAP. As soon as I get a chance, I'll get back to you of any questions that you may have. So as I said in the description, I certainly know in the frustration, 75% of people in our community, in our society, have low back pain. Of that 75%, a good chunk have reoccurring low back pain. And like I said, I certainly know the frustrations because I've had it myself. I'll knock on wood, but fortunately my back hasn't gone out for probably 5-6 years. And I used to have it periodically where I would be the person lying on the couch or with the feet up and have some pretty good back problems. So again, I can feel your pain, for no pun intended, and I know the struggles with it. So without any further ado, my first recommendation is around practitioners, because we certainly know there's a plethora of people who advocate that they work with the low back and such. You know what? I don't bash anybody. I think they're all good. I think one of the key things is finding something that works for you, whether that be chiropractic, naturopath, osteopath, physiotherapists. And as I'm sure you've come to realize, if you're dealing with this issue or have a loved one that's dealing with it or a coworker, there's different facets of chiropractic care, there's different facets of physio care, there's different facets of osteopath, there's different facets of just about everything. But I think one of the key things is finding someone that you trust and seeing if you have success with them. And you have to kind of pick a time frame that you're comfortable with. So is it 3 months? Is it 6 months? You really need to negotiate that plan and say, what can I expect from this treatment and what kind of marker should I be? Some people will be hesitant, and that's okay, but you should be able to get a ballpark time frame of when you should be able to see success. I'm a fan of chiropractic care. I go to it. I mean, I could speak for an hour on why I think it might help. Nitrogen getting popped out of the joint, making it feel better. There's all kinds of benefits to that. Physiotherapists, I've worked with ones that are terrific and really help people. So you might want to also get out in your community and find people who specialize in that, and also people who have success stories. I think there's real value in speaking to people who I've actually had low back pain and I've had success with this person. And it may be worth the 15-minute drive or walk to get to that clinic to get the help. So really, I wouldn't say that chiropractor is better than physio or osteo. It's really just finding something and someone that works for you. I will say my second recommendation, which is I'm going to go blanket here and say I do think massage therapists play an important role. If you're not doing massage therapy on a regular basis, it's probably something that you should take a look at if it's in your health plan, or might be well worth the investment. Again, finding someone who specializes in low back pain would also be outstanding. But I'm a big advocate of massage therapy for the therapeutic effect and then also the psychological effect. I think both of those married together can have a profound impact on on low back pain. You'll know where you want to hit, and most massage therapists will know, but try to get them to spend time around the hips and really look for those trigger points that you may have. Because sometimes, and if you don't know about trigger points, just Google it, take a look at it, because I'm going to advocate the next is doing some self-massage therapy, but you should really look at where are the trigger points, because I know where mine are. I have some in my abdominals, which actually I can push some spots that will refer to my low back pain, and I have some through my hips, which are pretty important too. And those trigger points aren't a bad thing. They actually can be part of the referral pain, and I'm a big advocate of trigger point massage therapy. So whether it's myofascial release, which is another big one that some people have success with, again, you might want to write that down and do some Googling on that. But I think the trigger point therapy and the trigger point therapy and the myofascial release might be something that you take a look at, and you do need to probably try to find a physiotherapist. Sorry, I'm just looking down to make sure there's any comments, to make sure that they're specialized in that type of therapy. So I'm a big advocate. That's number two. Find a good massage therapist and get to work with them. The other one that I will advocate, if you haven't done it yet, is self-massage therapy. So things like your baseballs, softballs, your foam rollers. You don't want to go overboard, because I have had some clients and some people and some athletes go crazy overboard with this. But as you can imagine, you can actually get into some of those trigger points with the ball. So you can actually lie on the floor and get into some spots. And if you do happen to find a trigger point that's like a hot spot and wow, that's painful, just go in a little bit to where you feel a little bit of discomfort and hold it for 1, 2, 3 minutes. Do some deep breathing, which actually causes some tone to come down in the muscles, and that will really help. So 1, 2 minutes, find a trigger point, hold it there. With the roller, again, we can lie on our side on the floor, and we can roll out the hips, the quads, and the low back. But getting at the hips, I think, is really important, because I do think the hips become stiff, and you'll find a lot of points within that, which will probably help you a lot. So that's 3. The fourth one, which I'll mention, is the hips. I do think they play an important role. So one is to actually get the trigger point stuff going. So try to get the hips to tone down and relax. The other thing too is we actually want to train the hips. So this is where I would advocate maybe meeting up with a trainer and looking at what exercises can I do to improve my hip endurance, not hip strength. And that comes from pretty good research. So for example, I'll be jumping up and down here in my office, but if I do even some single leg work, as soon as I go into single leg stance, I'll just show you again off my camera. So if I go into some single leg stance, my hips actually have to activate. And that comes from some vacuuming research, some low back research, where they did is they took people with low back pain and had them vacuum around. And what they found was those that had low back pain put a lot more effort through the low back actually. Then when they had the people who didn't have low back pain sweep and do vacuuming, they actually put most of the emphasis through their hips and spared their low back. So one of the things, if you're working with a trainer, or if you're actually doing some exercise, is try to find some stuff that actually focuses on the hips, which in theory is part of your core. And I would advocate that we get into some, again, like I said earlier, some single leg stance stuff, because as soon as you go into single leg stance, that's when your hips are really going to activate. So get with a trainer or do some searching on the internet, and worst case, just start with some single leg stance, the movements that I just did, and that should also be able to help. Again, hip endurance, very, very important. The next one is going to be a little off, but what I'll say is I'm a firm believer in meditation. And meditation comes in many different connotations. Meditation doesn't have to be, you know, up in the morning at 5 a.m. on your front lawn waiting for the sun to come up. It can actually just be some deep breathing. I'll tell you from my experiences, it's been the #1 thing of all my recommendations that have really helped me by far. So I went to a clinic out in California, and it was a trigger point and what is called paradoxical relaxation, and it helped my back probably more than anything. So all these things have helped. but the paradoxical relaxation has been the most helpful for me. So I recommend that you take a look in your community. Is there a meditation class, or even just learning to do some deep breathing? And again, we don't have a lot of time today, but even just doing some belly breathing can actually tone down those trigger points, change the nervous system. So we actually, when we get into chronic pain, your nervous system starts to change. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to send me a message. But your nervous system actually starts to change, and it enhances the pain. We're trying to reverse that through whether it be acupuncture or massage therapy, but one of the things that you can take control of yourself is the massage therapy and the paradoxical relaxation. If you'd like to know more about that, send me a message and I can talk to you about it and give you a few articles on it. But that's where we try to relax the eyes, relax the vocal cords, which really does help tone down the nervous system, like I said, and make you feel better. So meditation, finding a form of relaxation therapy, I think is absolutely critical for you to do. So again, it's probably helped me move my back 60% over the last, I've been doing it since 2006, but it had a profound impact right away. The sixth recommendation is cardio. So there's actually one massive study which looked at all the studies. It's called a meta-analysis, which means it took all the studies together. And one of the things that they found is actually, of all the things, physio and chiro, a walking program had one of the most profound impacts. Why is that? Not really sure, but the good thing with cardio is it keeps the blood flowing, but it also might help up here too, which is part of the issue with low back. Is not just physical, sometimes it can get into a psychological issue. So with the cardio, it releases good endorphins, keeps the hips moving, keeps the blood flowing. So it doesn't have to be walking, it can be whatever you can tolerate. So if you're dealing with low back pain, find something that you can actually tolerate, and it might take some time. I've been in the pool with flotation devices around my hips so it don't drop, so my back doesn't drop and it doesn't hurt. But those are the types of things that you're gonna have to try and figure out. Most people can do walking, but if it's not it, maybe it's biking and sitting hurts, that's cool, try the elliptical trainers. The key thing is keep trying, find something that gets cardiovascular. If the pain subsides, to keep it at bay, keep the cardiovascular. Ideally, 150 minutes a week, like 30 minutes a day would be outstanding. Again, any comments, feel free to type in and let me know. So the cardio, number 6, really important. Number 7, which may surprise you, is the ergonomics. Because we certainly know the ergonomics at our desk and the way we stand, the way we sit can play a factor. But I will say we've been a little bit fooled, and this comes from the top researcher in the world who lives in Ontario, to think that there is one perfect position that we can sit in that will take care of everything. What he's actually shown, and when he does a presentation, the key thing is change. Being in one chronic position for a long period of time is what can lead to pain and discomfort. So for me, it might be 20 minutes in the perfect position, like we're talking about, shoulders down, this position. You know what? Then it might be 20 minutes in a standing workstation. Then it might be 10 minutes with my feet up doing some work. The key thing is change, not to be in this perfect position, but to actually be revolving and changing. The other thing that I'll mention in conjunction with that is get up and move. Don't find yourself at this computer for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, or if you have to drive home to St. John like I do, stop the car, get out, get for a walk. Those things, I know it seems like it's going to be time consuming, but that's what's going to make a difference. So again, don't find yourself at a computer for 2-3 hours at a time. Actually, one of the companies we work with, a bell goes off periodically, and everyone knows to get up and get moving, which again gets the stuff circulating and keeps everything healthy. So again, don't find yourself in chronic positions for long periods of time, and I bet you that might help as well. That's number 7. Number 8 is around the famous word, the core, which is a huge term these days. And what I'll suggest is if you're doing sit-ups or crunches or these types of things, stop them. So one of the things we're going to try to avoid in the future for you is anything that flexes the spine with a big load. So we don't obviously want to pick things up with a rounded back. We try to keep our back flat, which keeps these muscles engaged. But the other thing that we want to try not to do when we're at the gym or at home is get down on the floor and do curls. What happens, it actually can cause creep in the ligaments. So it can actually lengthen your ligaments by doing the chronic flexion. So we want to avoid that pretty much as possible. And that's why in today's gym, you'll see most people doing planks and things where their backs are stable, or they're doing rotational movements. Again, the back is in its S position and stable, and then you're asking it to do difficult tasks. So again, another opportunity to work with a trainer to say, I don't want to do any more spinal flexion. Crunches and those things are probably, I hate to use the word bad, but bad for your back. We want to try to avoid those and get into more bracing type movements, which are important. And again, that comes from that top researcher out of Ontario and a number of other people out of Australia and the US who've shown that that's a better way to train your back from a health perspective. Number 9, journal. Big advocates of journals. Our new platform, which is coming out next month, will have a journal embed into it. And what that allows you to do is, if you have a good stretch, you can look back and say, what was I doing during that good stretch? And then if you have a bad stretch, you can say, what led into me having the bad stretch? And then how long was I in it, and what did I do? What did I do to get out of it? So journaling is critical, rather than trying to go, oh, what did I do? What happened? What physio did I do? What acupuncture did I do? Those kind of things. I would suggest that's probably number 2 in importance, is that you do that, because that really will help you figure out what's going on. We've done it with Olympic level athletes. It really does help. I've done it with regular people. So you might actually create your own Google form or your own journal with your book and say, how much alcohol did I have? How much sleep am I getting? How much exercise did I do? How much stress did I have in my life? Then you can start to correlate. Oh, when I actually get a 7 out of 10 for 2 weeks straight in my stress, there's an opportunity that my back's going to go. Like, I actually get tight, stiff, sore, and then boom, it goes. So that might be a common denominator. It might be, oh, I've only drank in 500 mils of water for the last 4 weeks. I'm dehydrated, and that's an issue. So that, what I would say is a side factor, for example, is maybe hydration levels are an issue. Journaling, critical. Pick the questions that you want to ask. And like I said, whether you do it on a spreadsheet, whether you do it as a Google form that's coming to your phone, which we do with our clients, or it's just straight up pen and paper journal, which I think I might, one of my old ones, you know, just journaling. I've got everything on a spreadsheet for the last 4 years, so I know exactly when I'm potentially going to get sick and what I have to do to address it. So I have all of that laid out. Again, any questions, feel free to comment. Number 10 is around medications, and I'm not a doctor, so I have to watch my recommendation, but I've read 4 books on this, matter of fact. I'm not so concerned about medications as other people. I think from all the readings that I've done in my own experience is my last comment, which I think is really important. Whatever gets you out of pain that doesn't hurt other people and is safe, do it. So most of the literature around chronic pain says whatever you can do to get out of pain is important. Again, sure, some drugs are addictive, but they're very, very low percentage of people will get addicted. So again, whatever's safe and effective and you're doing with your doctor, obviously alcohol wouldn't be a good reason. And I had a client one time who said, you know what, I hate to say it, but every time I have alcohol, my back pain goes away. We had to come up with a different strategy to get him out of pain, because alcohol is not a good thing. But whatever can get you out of pain, get out of it, and talk to your doctor, for example, on medications. There's something that I can take that gets me out of pain, that allows me to function throughout the day. The key thing is reduction in pain as quickly as possible, whether that be through the massage therapy, the practitioners, the hips, meditation. I'll give you one bonus one, which I'll say here at the end. Be positive. Because I do find most times everyone has an injury, it's dealing with that. Again, my readings, what it shows is when it turns into chronic is when we get into like mild depression and those kind of things, and then it just keeps spiraling and getting worse. One of the keys is to wake up, have positive self-talk. This is going to get better. It's I've been checked out. It's not cancer. It's not this. It's not that. I know all kinds of people who've gotten out of chronic pain, and this is what they did. And I've talked to Darren. He told me 10 things to do. I'm going to start them. The key thing is try to stay positive and have some positive psychology, which goes along with the meditation, the relaxation therapy, the massage therapy. So, and you'll get that probably from your physio and chiros and your practitioners. Again, one of the other practitioners you may want to work with is a psychologist, someone who's dealt with chronic pain a lot and can help you through what I'm just talking about, is being positive about this process. That's the key. So those are my 10 points. I think I got them all out in 20 minutes, which is surprising for me, because as you can probably tell, if this is your first one with me, is I like to talk a lot. So I'm really glad you joined me. Again, if there's any comments, feel free to shoot, but we're at 12 o'clock and I want to make sure you have time to go for a walk, do your relaxation, do your self-massage therapy, whatever it is, and make sure that you do that today. Really glad you joined us. I'll send these 10 out. If you want them, you can email me or I'll send them out to the group. If you have any questions, Darren@VanduraWellness.com. And I'd like to say thanks a lot. You can check out our website, VanduraWellness.com. And again, there's lots of other information on our corporate wellness programs. We will have Insight Wellness coming out soon, which is our web platform. And if you're not on our newsletter or not getting our blogs, again, send me the message and I can tack you onto that so you can get some other cool information. I've got one coming out this week on probiotics and how that can also help with all kinds of stuff. Thanks a lot. Please stay in touch and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.